episode. Hi everyone, welcome to Girl Talk. This is your host, Andy Patania Matthew, and we have a wonderful guest joining us today. And I even believe that the term wonderful is an understatement to describe her. She is known as a mom of multitudes, as she is a beautiful woman in her 60s with 4 biological children, 4 foster kids, and 1 adopted daughter. And she is also a mamita, or a grandmom, to 4 grandkids. And also, she is considered as a mother to many out-of-school youth in Cebu with their family-driven advocacy of helping lessen the dropout rate among public high school students in the Philippines by giving free tutorials in the different barangays. And also, she is the author of the book entitled Play Nice and Fight Fair, and other practical lessons from 35 years of marriage. Let's all welcome via Zoom, Tita Lollette Oliva-Alipe. Hi, Tita Lollette, how are you?
Fine. Thank you for having me, Andy. I'm so happy to be here.
We are also very, very blessed to have you as our guest for this episode. Tita Lollette, kamusta ang pandemic? What have you been up to lately?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm homeschooling our 11-year-old. We're not in any registered homeschool program, so I had to make my own homeschool program.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're enjoying it. I'm taking care of language, social studies, and science. And my youngest daughter, who's an architect, handles her math.
Wow, ka-amazing. So tell us about yourself, Tita Lollette. You are a teacher by profession. Unsa man gid imong background?
Actually, I'm a broadcast communication graduate, but my path went towards training. So I have been a professional trainer since 1978.
Wow.
1978. And that has been my career. So I enjoy training a lot. But at one point, when the school of my children needed a substitute teacher for social studies, I volunteered. And I stayed in that school for 7 years until my youngest daughter graduated. So that was where my teaching came out. And of course, I was a Sunday school teacher for 15 years.
Wow.
Yes, so I love teaching, training. So that's basically who I am.
So wala gid ka ni focus into the world of media, Tita, no? Mas naagid ka dito sa training and development sessions.
Yes, I think that has been, I love meeting people kasi yung talagang face-to-face and seeing their development.
But how is it adjusting to the pandemic, Tita? Because before we started, you shared about the struggles of boomers in today's new setup, diba? Everything is online. How is it for you adjusting to Zoom interviews such as this, mga webinars, kamusta?
Nako, it was stressful. My very first webinar, which was last Feb, I was like a nervous wreck. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what even to look, because as a trainer, you look left and right, you look at the faces of people and see the reaction. So when I was practicing, I found out that I was looking still left to right, and my daughter goes, "Mommy, you have to look at the camera." So that was something I had to adjust to. Family life, we were okay naman because we were more people in the house. I had my 2 younger children plus Maki, our adopted daughter. I had the fiance of my son with us plus my husband. So masaya kami. Masaya. Of course, struggle when it comes to finances. Everybody had some sort of stress, But it was fun because the family was together.
Now that you've mentioned, Tita, nga, you really have a big family. And like how I introduced you, you are the mom of multitudes. And in fact, this is the name of your blog, right? Mom of multitudes.blogspot.com. I've been reading some of your articles.
Thank you.
So can you share to our viewers, Tita, because I've gathered that your children came in batches. So if you could just summarize it in a nutshell, because I think that 1 hour would not be enough to tell your whole life story. But if you could summarize it in a nutshell, can you tell us about your motherhood story and how you've had 9 children?
All right. Just to give a background, my husband and I were married for 7 years, then we separated. when we separated, we already had 2 kids. Our batch number 1, which was Gabby
Yeah.
and Monchi.
Mm.
Then, when we reconciled after 5 years, by God's grace, we had 2 more kids, because love is love here the second time around.
True.
So we had Josh and Sarah. By this time, we were already based here in Cebu. Because I'm not Cebuana, I'm Tagalog now, but I'm a Cebuana by heart.
Okay.
So we had already the 4, so we were okay. In 2007, I was part of this church called Church of Our King. And there was a young person there who I became friends with, and he was Maurice. And we were working together in a coffee shop ministry. And then suddenly their father died when their father went to Italy for medical reasons.
Okay.
And he died there, and so he and his siblings all of a sudden were alone. And so at one point, they were friends already with my kids at that time. And at one point, my kids said, Mommy, they're really hard up. So my husband and I decided to check up on them, and we found out that they were really not in a good place. No, there were no relatives taking care of them when we thought they had relatives taking care of them. So these are 4 siblings, Mau, Nana, and Luigi. They all have different mothers,
okay.
one father.
Okay.
So we started taking care of Luigi and Savina. We brought them into our home after a certain time, brought them back into our home. And then my husband goes, wow, naman yung dalawa. Kunin na lang natin. Because they were living in other places. So my husband constructed a room in the house so that they can live with us. Our house was a bungalow with 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So from 4 children, biglang nag-8.
Instant.
Yeah, instant. So it was like buffet every day, and it was like a dormitory on steroids, as I call it. And so we were all cramped there, but it was fun. That was 2007. So we said, okay, Lord, thank you so much for all the blessings. And then in 2009, we found a baby girl outside the home. She was in the bushes.
Really?
Crying. She was inside a plastic bag. And it was the security guard who found her. And I still get emotional when I talk about it. So he called the housekeeper. The housekeeper called us. When we ran out, she was inside a plastic bag, but it was already gone, and she was crying. She was almost blue with cold already.
Aww.
And so my husband was really so angry when he saw it, because like in the movies,
you only see these things in the news, right?
So when I got her and I put her here, she immediately stopped crying. It's as if she knew that she was already safe, that she was warm. So we wrapped her up in a towel, and we rushed her to the hospital. And at that point, I was praying to God. I go, Lord, hindi kaya OA na ang pagiging mother of multitudes ko. So, and to be honest with you, I just couldn't see myself becoming a mother of a newborn at age 53. I was 53.
Oh, you were already 53.
Yeah, I was 53. And my youngest daughter was already about to graduate from high school. So I go, okay. Back to square one talaga. And I was already thinking, I can go to short mission trips, because I wanted to be like a missionary ba. So, not man long term, but yung short mission trips ba. And then, it turned out that Matthew became my mission field. My children became my mission field. And so, my husband was very insistent, no, mahal, this child was given to us by God. So, he's insistent. And the child looked like him. I go, why? No, that's our joke. And then I tried to offer her to a childless couple in church.
You tried.
I tried, because I said she deserves a younger parents. Because I was getting, it was like, kawawa naman yung bata if your mother can't even run after you. Diba? So I said, but the couple came back to us after a week, after praying, and they go, you know what, this child is not for us. We didn't receive any sign from the Lord that the child should be with us. And my husband goes, sabi ko na, this is the child, that child is for us. So she's with us. We adopted her. She's already 11. She's such a blessing to us. And so we call her Faith Makana. Makana is gift in Hawaiian. And so she's a gift of faith. So bringing her into our home was like an exclamation point.
What does that mean, Tita?
Yung tama na, tapos na.
Kota.
Sige na, punta na kami, sobra pa.
Pero you really have a beautiful story, Tita. And I'm also curious. Let's start first with us. Batch number 3. Did you ever have to explain to your biological kids why they were going to have more siblings in the family? Has it ever been an issue to them? Or excited sila nga madungagan ang ilahang mga igsuon?
My husband and I have been so blessed because our children have been very open to helping other people. So even before we had the Davula siblings with us, we would always have people coming, staying in the house with us. Parang halfway house kami. Those who are still transient, they're supposed to move to another place, they stay with us. Mga friends din nila. Okay. We had one runaway boy who stayed with us 1 year. I had one nephew who lived with us for 3 years because he got into trouble in Manila. So my siblings sent him to our home here in Cebu to rehabilitate him. And things like that. So they're so used to having people stay with us. And so when we decided to have them, we just said, okay, this is the situation. And because unang-una, the 2 younger Italian kids were already very good friends with my batch number 2.
Okay.
They were very close. So, we have siblings. Of course, there was always that struggle of space. We had a very small house.
Yeah, so how did you do it, Tita?
They had to share rooms, they had to share clothes, they had to share food, they had to learn how to share even my attention and the attention of their dad. Okay. But we've been so blessed because the kids have learned to be open to other people who they feel God has sent. So we just said, okay, these children need our help. God has sent them to us. And they were very open to it. So even now, even though the Davulas are already in Europe, because they're Italians, we have a messenger group. That's where they chat. That's where they call each other up. So it's really a beautiful thing. So they call me mommy. They call dad daddy. Until now. So it's a blessing.
For Tita, at that time, I'd like to ask, did you ever encounter financial problems raising 8 children all at once? Murag di siya struggle.
Do you see my God? Yes, of course. I mean, you're used to 4, biglang bag.
Yeah.
How many kids do you
have?
have?
I only have 2 and I already feel like nalalagas na yung buhok ko, Tita, every day.
So it's like that. All of a sudden your house budget is expanded. It's expanded. And we've been blessed in the sense there were times of struggle. There were times naman na we knew always that God will provide because my husband always goes, if he allows something to happen to us, it's for a good reason. He always says that to us. So when we have a struggle, then he goes, sige lang, the Lord just is allowing this to happen to us. And then when all of a sudden there's money, so thank God, thank you for your provision. Then my struggle na naman, okay, there's a reason for this. So that's always been our attitude towards what our situation is.
As in,
of course, struggle hindi yung okay. Siyempre meron din.
As in, gulong-gulo na talaga.
Talagas din ang buhok ko.
When Maki came, when you were already 53 years old, at least they were already some of them, ni graduate na.
They pitched in terms of helping me take care of the baby. Like they would have shifts. I said, I'm 53, I cannot do the 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock feeding. So they came up with their own schedule na they paired off,
Yeah.
and they would be the ones to do the bottles, and and so my son, si Josh, told me, Mom, I never realized it's so hard pala to take care of a baby. Sabi ko, good. So at least they know that they should not, do any hanky-panky. Because alam nila mahirap. They will wait.
So back then, Tita, were you the type of mom who would schedule mga chores for the 8 of them? Like, do they have a routine nga they follow nga? At this time, ako sa dishes during lunchtime, sa dinner. How did you try to manage the entire household?
They were kind of spoiled in the sense that they didn't really have chores. They were just supposed to make sure their beddings they fixed their beds, or else they'll hear me go like that. But as to chores, my husband is such a good provider that we had maids, we had houseboys, and we've been very blessed with that. He always made sure that my focus is more for the children. So there were no really chores to talk about, but they did do the chores when it came to Mackie, and they all promised me that when the time comes, they will also step up and take care of Mackie when we're no longer around.
And Mackie right now, Tita, how old is she na? She is already...
She's 11.
11 years old. Wow. And she's so blessed nga. Ikaw ang iyang homeschool teacher. You're very hands-on sa iyang learning.
I don't know whether that is a blessing to her kasi may pagka-intent.
Talaga. Tita, when we come back here at Girl Talk, we would like to be asking more of your parenting styles and the tips that you can share with our fellow parents who are watching this right now. So please don't go away. We will come back. Hi everyone, you're still watching Girl Talk, and of course, we are still with Tita Lollette via Zoom. Hi again, Tita. So now we'd like to ask, what kind of mom are you? Like, has your parenting style changed over the years from the time when you were a first-time mom until you've had more children in the family?
Oh, definitely. I was, when you're a newbie mom, you make all the mistakes.
Yeah.
No matter how many books that you try to read and you try to do your best. As a newbie mom, I wasn't really nice. I was trying so hard to manage everything.
In what sense did Tana not nice? Like you were strict,
I was
always
strict.
angry?
No, angry. Like, kawawa si Gabby. You know Gabby, di ba? My eldest son, si Gabby and Monchi. They were especially Gabby, because I wanted him a certain way. I had all my projections to him. So I was very strict. And then I would spank like anything. Like, out of anger, spank, So, Monchi was more of, okay, he got spanked for that. I better not do that.
Okay.
But Gabby was very strong-willed. He was very much like me as a child. And so he was very strong-willed that even though I spanked him, he would hold on, I'm not gonna cry. So it was very difficult for me. And then I got a breakthrough. I got 2 breakthroughs. One breakthrough was I found out that at the time I was separated from my husband, there is a term pala when you project all your anger on somebody. And I was projecting my frustration, my anger to my husband on Gabby. He was what you call my stress conductor.
Okay.
So when I realized that, oh my gosh, que pobrecito, I was, pouring out all of these frustrations on him. And then I read a book called Parent Effectiveness Training.
Okay.
And it's how you say things. Okay. Like, you don't say, you make me so mad. You have to own your own emotions, So you say, when you do that, I get angry. Or I get upset when you do this. You always show love, but you can always say, I didn't like what you did. So there was this delineation of the liking or the not liking the behavior and the unconditional love for the child. And so that kind of blew my mind, and I started redoing my discipline.
Yeah.
And then when we reconciled, I became a Christian. While we were reconciling, I received Jesus. I started reading the Bible more, and I saw biblical principles for parenting.
Mm.
And so I kind of changed it by the time sina Sarah and Josh arrived. I had already formulated a penal code. You know, so your punishment depends on the gravity of your crime, so to speak. So the only time they get spanked is when they do something that's dangerous to themselves or to other people.
Okay.
And that's the only time they get spanked. Everything else has something minor, like stand in the corner, stuff like that. Or you get spanked in the hand lang, but you spank in the butts.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. And so at least they knew already what to expect. It wasn't like I just do something, bang. That was how I was when I was a new mom. And it kind of is confusing. It was confusing for the children. So it was more structured. And then because it is a penal code, I go, you know what you did was not good. Do you know what the punishment is? Yes, mommy, it's I'm gonna get spanked. Okay. And then I was calmer. So when I meet the punishment, I'm already calm. I don't spank out of anger. Then after I spank, and then I hug, I'm sorry I had to spank you, but you know that's the consequence of your action. So it became more. It was calm. I was calmer. The kids knew what I was expecting from them. So that was my penal code for them. The punishments became more age appropriate. I had to adjust also. For example, curfew. I would tell them, all right, your curfew, like Gabby, he's the eldest kasi when he didn't yet leave for Manila. I said, okay, your curfew is at 12. Depende. If it's high school, 10. Pag college na, sige, mga 12, 1. If you show me that your curfew, you meet your curfew, then okay, it's very good. But if you say 12 o'clock ang curfew, you come home at 1, all right. Most parents will ground. No, you cannot go out the next time. That's not practical. So I go, okay, next time you ask permission, you may go. But your curfew now is at 11. Okay. Na-deduct the time. Another thing that I did with them is that when you change your venue, like say you go out with your friends, you have to tell me what venue. So for example, you're going from a friend's house, you're going to another place. You have to tell me.
Yes,
you text
of course.
me.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, when we come up with rules like these, it's not because we want to make life hard for you. It's because I want to know that you're safe.
Yeah.
Now, if for example you get lost, something happens, at least I know where to start looking.
Yeah. Tinood. And as what they say, Tita, you will never sometimes truly understand the reason why your parents do this until you become a parent yourself, diba? Because siguro ako sad, maybe there were times back in the days when, there were also mga hangouts with friends nga I would feel like KJ kay si mama or si papa because strict kayo sila. But now that I'm a mom, I would really understand nga the reason why they have to inform us, diba? Who they're with, where they're going.
That's true. That's so true.
Tita, now that you've already have grown-ups, nga kids, and of course, you also have Mackie, I'd just like to know, personally, what do you think is the most challenging part of raising a child? Is it for you, the newborn stage? Is it when they're going to school? Or is it when they're going through puberty, wherein they are exposed to different influences na? Para ni mo, ano pinaka-challenging?
Each phase is a challenge. There will be always challenges. I can't really say, teenager, pinaka, But even raising my adult children is difficult. When parents tell me, ay nako, pag lumaki na yung mga bata, they're out of the house, wala na akong problema. No, it's not. You never stop being a parent.
Yeah. True.
You cannot discipline them anymore, even if you don't agree with some of their decisions, but you have to trust that you have to trust them, and you just have to pray for them. So I'm more of a prayer warrior. If they ask me for advice, I will give them advice, but I don't expect them to do what I tell them to do. But I think the most would be when they're toddlers up to siguro elementary. because it's foundational. You teach the family values there, the core beliefs of your family. The Bible tells us in Proverbs that train up a child in the way he should go, so when he grows old, he will not depart from it. So having a strong foundation of faith, of family, is all, very important at that stage. So then you can always, that they bring it with them as they grow older. So that's, I think, the most, the time when you dig a lot of, you fertilize a lot, you do your gardening at that time. Yeah.
Tita, I'd also like to ask about how it is to be a mom to rock stars, because of course everyone knows Gabby and Josh. How was it like when they told you that they wanted to pursue music as a career? Back then ba, did you have your own plans for them? Like, you know how traditional Filipino parents are when they say that you have to be a doctor, you have to be an architect, engineer. You know, they see this kind of really practical professions. And sometimes there are people who look down on careers in the arts in particular because they say, wala kay kwarta makuha diha. How is it like for you?
I add one pa, si Luigi.
Yeah, and Luigi, yes. I saw him also in the Pinoy boy band, right?
Yes. He's actually a mixed VJ.
Yes. But
and he came up with one single before he left for Spain.
So he's already in Spain. But I saw him, nagkasubaybay ko niya during the reality show as well. Katong next Pinoy boy band superstar.
Okay. So I had 3. I used to sing also professionally. So I have that was my dream.
Sa imo na naliwat.
Yeah, but of course my husband will
argue.
Anyway, he's not here. So I knew also that longing, that desire, no. But of course, when Gab was into band, so we said, sige, kanta. We high school in Don Bosco kasi. But Don Bosco was very, they encourage mga band commander. Okay. And then he brought it with him until college, and then all of a sudden he says, I don't want to go through college. I want to concentrate on my music.
What was your first reaction, Tita, when you heard that?
My husband and I talk and we go, okay, it's either we support him. If we don't support him, he will just go through with it. He'll just push through with it anyway. And we didn't want to lose that connection. For my husband and I, the most important thing is to have a relationship with our children. So we said, okay, let's support him. Prior to that, let me just tell you something. When Gab got his first tattoo, I was hysterical.
Yes, I was also going to ask you about that. Sige, go, Tita.
I have my own. Okay. I also have my own. Okay. So when he had his first tattoo, boy, did I freak out, and I cried and I was hysterical.
Really?
I told my husband. Yeah, because at that time, high school siya, he was 17 years old.
What tattoo was it?
Girlfriend niya, pangalan. So I even went to the tattoo artist and scolded him. He still remembers me until now. So anyway, that was something that kind of opened our minds to, this is a different generation that we're dealing with. Because kami, when we were young, we had a generation gap with our own parents. They couldn't understand why we wanted rock, why we wanted this, why we want, So we said, okay, we're now in that stage that we talked about it. We have to support him rather than disconnect. So we talked to our pastors about tattoos.
Yes.
To make sure that it was not anything against our faith.
Yeah.
And then when they said no, as long make sure lang that it is something that doesn't disconnect him from you or from God. Okay. So we accepted it. So by the time he decided to not pursue college, we were kind of like, okay, so he really wants, he's passionate, we see his talent, let's support him. And I think that was key, because when we started supporting him, it nurtured his creativity. By the time Josh wanted to also stop college and pursue music and go to Manila, we said, his kuya was already in Manila doing okay as, in urban dub. We said, okay, you want to go, you go. And Gab was served as a father figure to Josh while they were in Manila. Because Gab was, we're so blessed because he didn't go the route of most rock stars, with drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
He'd drink, I know, but not the one to the drugs. So that was the only stipulation of my husband. Okay, go ahead, pursue what you want. Basta wag kayo drugs. Kasi once you're into drugs, I won't even help you get out of jail. That's what I'm not gonna help you.
But Tita, I just also like to ask, did you have to explain yourself to other women? Like, I'm sure that within your family, you understand na kanang you allow it, na you have this kind of acceptance and kanang, you've had the conversation with your husband and your kids. But do other parents judge your parenting decisions when they say, uy, imong anak, kanang puno naman na siya sa tattoo, kanang gipaalaw man imo nga, kanang dili mo pa dayon og college. Did you also go through that time?
Yeah, and I go, that was our decision. I'd rather have a relationship with my son rather than him just running away. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, judge me all you want, but I really don't care. It was the decision between my husband and me.
And indeed, Tita, you have very wonderful children, yun, as in. And that really goes to show the kind of parents that you are. Because when they say nga mga buotan ng mga anak, tungod sa yun, sa pagpadako sa ginikanan.
I just have to say, it's only by God's grace that we have kids, the kids that we have. Yes, the raising them was part of it, no? And having a structure, having both of us being partners as parents is very important. But it's by God's grace, because if we didn't have that foundation in faith, it would have been very hard for us to set the boundaries for our own children.
Nice. Tita, when we come back, this time, we would like to know more about the advocacy that you have as a family, and of course, the book that you've written and published. So again, please don't go away. Girl Talk will be back. Welcome back to Girl Talk. We are still with Tita Lollette, mom of multitudes, a mom of 9 beautiful children. Tita Lollette, as what we've gathered, you are not only a mom to your kids, biological foster kids, and of course, Mackie, but I know that you are also a mom to many out-of-school youth here in Cebu. So can you tell us about the advocacy that your family has been doing projects on over the several years?
Okay, our previous advocacy was for out-of-school youth, and that was the Urban Kamalig Youth Empowerment Program. But we shelved it for a time being for some reasons.
Yes.
And so we're now focused on junior public high school students, and we bring in free tutorials for them in their barangays. And the reason we thought of tutorials, this was actually the brainchild of my eldest daughter, Monchi, who had her, what do you call that in STC? Yung CI,
community involvement? Yes.
She took it to heart, and she goes, Mommy, the children really need tutorials. So we expanded the idea, and so we came up with Barangay Impact tutorial program for junior public high school students. And it is so that they are encouraged to study and to learn how to study even, so that it gives them a greater chance to continue into college. Even just to graduate from high school is a challenge for some of these kids. So we're trying to give them just a boost up by giving them tutorials.
Who is going to the barangays to tutor these students?
We have volunteer tutors. These are young professionals, college students. We give a call for every cycle. We call it for every cycle. We give out a call to them if they want to volunteer, just for 10 weeks. Okay? So they commit to 10 weeks, and then after that, if they want to do another cycle, they may.
Okay.
And then they go to the barangays. But before they're deployed to the barangays, they have a 1-day intensive training with me. Yeah, so we were very successful we had a lot of duties. We were so happy with the cooperation of the barangays.
Yeah.
But we had to suspend it because of the pandemic.
Oh, kay lisod man sad kaayo nga mag suroy-suroy, di ba? Because even classes are now being done online. But really, Tita Lollette, what I really admire about your family is how your kids are very involved in all these projects. Like even way back in Urban Kamalig, di ba? They were also very involved. And if I may share to our viewers, TOSP, because I was part of TOSP, we used to have our meetings there. And back then, I really already kanang ni-admire na gyud ko sa inyong gibuhat for these youth members here in Cebu. Now let's go to your book, Tita Lollette. It's entitled Play Nice and Fight Fair. Na naengganyo ko sa title. What is the book all about, and why is it titled this way?
My editor kasi wanted, no, the publisher wanted Play Nice and Fight Fair.
Okay.
But my original was Till Death Do Us Part, and Then What? That was the title. The book began as a short list of 30 things that I learned in 30 years of marriage. I wrote this before our 30th anniversary. And then I expanded it when we reached our 35th. And then people were telling me, why don't you make it into, really expand it and possibly make it into a book? So I started writing it because one thing that was in my bucket list was really to have a book. And so by God's grace, it became a book. And they changed it to Play Nice, Fight Fair because there are chapters there on how to deal with conflict within the marriage. And I believe that a lot of couples, whether they're newly married or they've been married for quite some time, and even couples who are just in a relationship and not yet married, have a hard time about settling conflicts. It's because you are two very flawed individuals having different backgrounds. And you're expected to stay together and find some sort of harmony. So sometimes you rub each other in the wrong way. So this is some of the lessons there show you how to settle these things.
Okay. Pero, Tita, just curious ko sa inyong love story because you said that you were separated for a couple of years and then how did you cross ways? Yun sa ninyo pag get back together with your husband at the time?
How we reconciled?
Yes.
Sige. So, naghiwalay kami. Gabby was 5. Monchi was just about to celebrate her first birthday. Ganun ka bata. Okay. And so, he went back to Cebu. He set up his business here in Cebu. I stayed on in Manila because I had a career in marketing at that time. And we decided that we are educated people and therefore we have to be civil to each other for the sake of the children. So even in my little apartment, I never removed any of our family pictures because I always said, you will always be the father. And so anything you had to do with the children, like a decision, I would call him. So it was a very civil type of separation.
Okay.
And then, but as my husband always says, when the Lord allows something to happen in your life, it's for a good reason. And so, sometime about 2 years, he met a group of businessmen who were Christians who started inviting him, and he refused. He didn't want. And finally, after 2 years, he finally said, "Sige, I will join your Bible study." And then he saw people that he knew, and so, cut the long story short, he committed his life to Jesus. He accepted him as Savior. And so he started praying for me. I've been a Christian, born again Christian when I was in high school. But then again, I kind of forgot about it. But that time I was also not happy. So I joined a Bible study in my village, in my area.
Okay.
And so I hope you don't mind. I'll tell you. I have just a short story.
Okay,
the pastor came to our house for a Bible. The pastor came to the house for a Bible study, and he goes, "The man that you're saying is your husband is not your husband." I felt like the Samaritan woman at the well. And so I said, "I think I need counseling, Pastor. Can I talk to you?" And he says, "Yes." So that started it until when both of us were ready. The Lord sent a 2-hour traffic jam with both of us in the car, and we had nothing else to do but to talk.
Oh, really?
Yes. So by the time we went through the traffic jam and we went to the hospital, Makati Medical, where my father had the bypass, I was able to tell my father, Papa, Em and I have reconciled. We're getting back together.
Wow.
So my father was crying.
Aww.
The good thing he didn't have another heart attack.
Tita, you've been married for more than 35 years already. What are the
41.
40 na? 41 years.
41.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tita, please share some of your advice to us. Like, for example, our marriage is very, very new. I've been married for only 5 years. So what can you share to a woman like me, and of course to all of our viewers who are watching this, especially when dealing with conflict? Siguro at the top of your mind, what would you always tell couples when resolving conflict within their marriage?
Off the top of my head right now.
Yes.
Jealousy is a useless emotion. There are a lot of conflicts within between couples. I'm sorry. It's because they get jealous. Jealous of, you like this woman. She just looked at the girl. Oh, siguro you have this thing. And I've always told my daughters when they were already teenagers, they started having boyfriends. If your boyfriend or your man looks at somebody else, it's his loss, not yours.
Bitaw.
Let him go. If he doesn't know your worth. Your worth is that you're a beloved child of God. You are royalty. Okay? And he can never find anyone else as good as you. So that self-confidence is needed.
Yeah.
So jealousy is a useless emotion in a marriage because you have to trust yourself and you have to trust your partner. Yeah. Also, accept, do not expect. A lot of conflicts are because we expect our partners to act or say certain things that they themselves never thought of, but we expect them to do it anyway. And so we get angry. And then they go, why is she angry bigla? Because pala, inside us, we were expecting that he would do this, she would say this. So, yun ang umpisa ng conflict. Oh, kamusta ka na? Bakit parang nag-aano ka? Wala, I'm fine. So, accept, do not expect. My husband is not one to wrap gifts.
Okay.
And before, when I was younger, I always expect, it's my birthday. I want him to I want the gift wrapped with a card.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to write cards.
Same
so
here.
I used to feel bad. And then when I realized that, you know what, he's really not, that's not his love language.
True.
So I learned to accept him, how he would show his love for me, which was acts of service. Have you read the book,
Yes. The love languages of people?
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You really have to know your love language and your husband's love language. So his was acts of service. So I'd expect him to say sorry. He would never say sorry. But he would tell me, sunduin kita mamaya, kain tayo.
Yeah.
That's his way of saying sorry.
How about, Tita, in keeping, cliche as it might sound, but in keeping the spark alive? Because I'm sure that, lahi ba dyan when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, there's always kilig, and then when you get married, and then sometimes there comes a point when you're just so used to each other's presence, usahay mo ra na mong igsuon, di ba? Abot na siya nga moment. So how do you keep the love burning?
It comes and goes. It doesn't mean that all the time, romantic, ay, kilig, nakakapagod. There'll be times when it's kind of okay, he's just there, it's more of compassion, and also you. So dates are very important. Going out on dates, na kayo lang, without the kids, which we do. Secondly is, this is my personal, I don't know whether I can say this, but don't show your husband you doing your personal hygiene stuff, like cutting your toenails. I don't cut my toenails in front of my husband. I never let him see me sit in the toilet. I never put curlers in my hair. When he sees me, it's already fixed. It's because you just want to have a little more mystery. Some couples, they forget the little niceties like thank you, excuse me, some they just burp to their heart's content. And
They're
then
that
without even checking,
comfortable.
yeah, they're not, yeah, it has to be, "Ay, excuse me," ganun pa rin, "Ay, excuse me." We've been married for so long, parang, "Ay, excuse me," which is okay, you know. Etiquette is still a good thing to have within a marriage. Because if you are polite to people that you hardly know outside your home, all the more you have to be polite to the person who is closest to you. So all these things, these little things matter in keeping the romance. Romance is good, but it's the day-to-day things that you do for each other that will keep the love burning.
Right.
Okay, not the romance.
Yeah.
You don't always have to have an expensive night out. You can just, my husband and I, when we don't have money, we'll sit here in the sofa. We put in a DVD of a concert. No, we dim the lights. He has his coffee. I have my wine.
Yeah.
And
Those little things.
and that's already a night out for us.
True. Tita, thank you kaayo. I wish that we had more time, but sige lang, hopefully we'll get to invite you again and learn from you again.
Oh, my pleasure.
Tita Lollette, please go ahead. Invite our viewers to grab a copy of your book. Where can we find your book? Is it available online?
Can I show my
Yes,
book?
of course. We would love to see it.
This is how it looks like.
Ah.
Okay, it's very nice, Fight
Cute
Fair, and
kayo.
other practical lessons in 35 years of marriage. It also talks about a little bit about children. And in fact, I'm writing a manuscript for parenting naman. And hopefully before I reach 70, I'll be able to bring it out. But this is available. This is published by OMF Literature. And so it's available in online. It's on Lazada, Shopee, Amazon, Google Play, and it's also, you can also go to the online bookstore of OMF, so which is Passages. So you can grab a copy. Here in Cebu, we don't have any OMF branch except for the one in Cybergate. So if you want to get a physical copy, then please go to Cybergate, Robinson Cybergate. It's on the second floor.
All right. Tita Lollette, finally, what is your parting word or any word of advice that you'd like to share to all parents in terms of parenting and also to parents in terms of dealing with their other half or their spouse?
Dear parents, I think what is important is that you have first work on your relationship as husband and wife before you can actually be effective as parents, because the children see what you do, see how you are more than what you say. So if there is a congruence, there's an incongruence of what you say and what you are doing and your attitudes, then what you say will fall on deaf ears. So work on your relationship first as husband and wife, and then more importantly, work on your relationship between you and Jesus.
Wow.
And for me, I think that is the perfect formula for having a good family life.
Thank you kaayo, Tita Lollette. It has been a pleasure having you for the show.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you kaayo, and hopefully I'll get to meet you again in person one of these days. Daghan kaayong salamat, Tita Lollette, and of course, daghan kaayong salamat to all of our viewers. We hope that you have been blessed by the teachings and the examples of Tita Lollette Alipe. This has been Andrea Patenia Matthew for Girl Talk.